Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for watching this video. In this video, I will be explaining about the introductions to thinking and intelligence. So in particular, we are going to discuss three subtopics under this chapter. The first one, we are going to discuss about the cognitive revolution in psychology, followed by the topics on thinking, and lastly, the topic on intelligence. Okay, the cognitive revolution in psychology. So, cognitions, this is the way in which information is processed and manipulated in remembering, thinking, and knowing. So, in the 1950s, computer science contributed to the birth of the study in human information processing. The computer, after these times, has been used as an analogy for the relationships between cognition and the brain. Cognitive psychology, in this sense, seeks to explain observable behavior by investigating the mental processes as well as structures that cannot be directly observed. So prior to the invention of computers, people still do not have a clear idea how our cognitive processes are operating. Okay, we know the existence of the brain, okay, the brain structure, the organ itself, but how the cognitive process happen is not yet exists, and people don't have a good idea on how people can process information. So cognition in this way is the process and the manipulation in remembering, thinking, and knowing. So the brain is equal to the organ, but the process involved in it is the cognition. So our cognition. So the development of cognitive psychology, so they focus on mental process and the structures that basically we cannot observe directly, but it actually exists. So in this sense, when technologists, computer scientists invent computers, psychologists start to use computer as an analogy on how to understand our cognitive process. So in this figure, computers and human cognition is an analogy which is drawn between human cognition and the way computers work. Okay, the physical brain is the analogous to a computer's hardware, and the cognition is analogous to a computer's software. So the physical brain equals to the hardware, the cognitive equal to the software. So if you look at the difference, there are similarities in terms of the process. For the human brain or cognitions, we require input to our sensories, okay, what we see, what we read, what we feel. So this is sent to our brain to process it. So the cognitions, okay, the memory, problem solving, all of this reasoning, creativity, and then we bring that out in terms of decision making and what we say and what we understand. So it's basically similar to the process of computer. When we put in information or the inputs, then the hardware will process. Okay, the process through the software, okay, through memory or through the operations, and then the output in terms of the writings, in terms of the calculations. So that's why cognitive psychologists at this time use the analogies of computer to make people understand how cognition and brains related in producing our cognitive processes. Okay, in terms of how computers and human being function is actually quite different in many aspects. Okay, inanimate computers and human brains function quite differently in some aspects. For example, most computers receive information from a human who has removed much of the information's ambiguity. Okay, so basically, when you want to ask the computers to calculate, okay, we put on numbers which already we decide that that is the exact number. Okay, while for human being, when they want to decide to calculate, there are other interferences, noises, there are other things that may influence us to calculate. So in the human brain, each neuron can respond to ambiguous informations transmitted through sensory receptors. Okay, this is not happening for computers. So computers can do some things better, okay, such as numerical calculations, okay, application of rules, coding, and etc. Unlike the computer, however, our human mind is aware of itself. Okay, so it's quite different. But the process here, why cognitive psychologists at the beginning of the time try to make an analogy of computer and human brains, because to make people started to realize actually the brain, beside the physical structure, the physical organ, there is the processes behind it that we cannot see, but it's actually processing the information. Okay, so the new development in computer science, okay, also influence the developments and the interests of cognitive psychologists, okay, especially the artificial intelligence. And in our time now, the influence of AI, artificial intelligence applications, software, so have basically changed a lot of our activities, jobs, and tasks. Okay, the Chat GPT, starting with the Chat GPT, and now we have a lot of others AI applications have basically affected our working, our daily lives. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a scientific field focused on creating machines or robot or applications which are capable of performing activities that require intelligence. Okay, so previously, this intelligence can only be done by human being. But this field of study, artificial intelligence, so they are creating, inventing machines, robots, softwares, computers that are able to do intelligence work, okay, done which previously only can be done by human being. So under artificial intelligence, there is a specific field which we call as cognitive robotics, a field which seeks to endow a robot with intelligent behavior. So basically, they put a lot of coding there, a lot of programming there, so that it not requires a lot of instruction or input from human being for the robot to respond and doing his task or its task. So cognitive psychologists, neuroscientists, computer scientists, and engineers, all of them involved in this effort, okay, in this fascinating, rapidly growing field of cognitive robotics. So a lot of issues has been talked about this, and in fact, I have been asked to give a talk on how artificial intelligence can give a threats to our job market. Okay, I'm not going to discuss that here. Okay, so that is how the evolutions of machines and computers affect cognitive field of psychology. Okay, then how this interrelated and is actually contributing between each other. And nowadays they are working together in the fields of artificial intelligence to improve the condition and well-being of human being.